following is a presentation of the Reviewing Network Sports. Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the NFL Network as we are wrapping up the first month of the 2025 NFL regular season. And needless to say, it certainly was a very interesting one. We've had some crazy games over the last couple of weeks. We had a crazy one on Sunday night. I'm so baffled how that became a tie. My God, and we really don't know who won the Micah Parsons Bowl in that case. Both teams were pretty good, but yeah, it still ended up in a 40-40 tie. And I'll explain more about that later on in here, especially with the power rankings here, because one of the teams in that game has a bye week this week. Yeah, we have our first official set of bye weeks this week. So there's four teams who have a bye week this week. One of them is the Green Bay Packers. The other is my Pittsburgh Steelers. Yeah, when they're winning, they're my Pittsburgh Steelers. When they're not, just this fucking team, man. It's like me with the Pitt Panthers. Just hey, the Pitt Panthers are winning. This is amazing. And then when they start losing, just like that type of thing. I know it's Green Bay and Pittsburgh. I think Chicago is also on a bye week too, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so it's Steelers, Bears, Packers, and the Falcons. Three of those four teams won their games. One of them tied, and we're gonna touch on that in a little bit here as we get ready to talk about my power rankings for the week. And needless to say, this list not really much of a surprise in general. Most of the teams in the top five are the teams you expect to be in there. But I want to touch on something here because I've started putting this list on my other social media platforms, not just on Facebook, but also Twitter. They've always been on Twitter, but also Blue Sky and Threads. And on Threads in particular, I've been getting some very interesting comments, and I would like to just kind of address some of those things because I usually just focus on the top five in general. But considering that I have been getting some interesting comments here, I'll explain some of them on here. So let me go ahead and start off with the first one I have here. One person said, "The Ravens at 21-25. Ha 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 ha." I should probably mention, for some of you out there who are very much new to this show in particular, because I've gotten new people to come on here. Some people have started joining in and watching the show, mostly because they don't see me as some AI generated crap like some other channels on here do. But this is me telling you what my honest thoughts are on these things here. And by the way, thank you folks out there for tuning into the Sunday Night NFL Rewatch this week. We just crossed 100 views, which doesn't seem like a whole lot in general, but the first half of that game was just crossed the 100 view mark today, and slowly but surely people are finding the second half on that one. So we are starting to build here, and we are starting to grow on that part there. And like I said, it's only my second game doing this, and hopefully this means this is something that you people like out there, and hopefully want to see me continue doing. And we got another one coming up in 2 weeks, at least 1 week from Sunday, when Detroit takes on Kansas City on the 12th. But anyway, back to the power rankings here. The first comment on here, the Ravens at 21-25. And I should say that my power rankings in particular are much different than the normal NFL power rankings you see out there. I go by a week-by-week basis. I look at all the teams that played, look at how they played, and if they're bad, they move down further than they were before. If they're good, I move them back up. It's that kind of a thing. I know sometimes some teams will move down a spot or two in other power rankings lists, but this is the way I do it here. Give you guys something a little bit different here. So why are the Ravens at 21-25? Why are they at 25? Well, simply and effectively, they looked pretty terrible against Kansas City. In fact, they pretty much have looked terrible for most of the early part of the season. But then again, that's the Ravens' MO. They start the season off pretty badly. It's about what they do in the second half of the season that gets them elevated back up into the top 10 and sometimes the top 5. This year in particular is going to be very interesting to see, seeing that half the team is injured, and I'll explain more of that when we get to the actual game this week. But they're down there at the bottom because they played pretty badly against a good Kansas City Chiefs team. Someone else said, Chargers, 49ers, Colts, Ravens, most importantly, the Jags. Well, I'll talk about the Jags later on in a separate thing, but the Chargers I put at 21 because they looked pretty bad against the Giants. I mean, Justin Herbert was throwing interceptions. Giants, they were going in there as a 3-0 team, beating a team that, on paper, you should be able to beat. But once again, you know, when you put in a new quarterback in there and somebody that knows and somebody that actually moves the ball a lot better than the previous quarterback, yeah, if you can't beat that, you're going down the bottom of the list. 49ers I put down at 22 because they didn't look that great against the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't think the 49ers are that good of a football team right now. I mean, yeah, everyone wants to overhype them, especially Brock Purdy, but these guys have a ton of injuries, and they have yet to be able to completely get past them. Yeah, you beat some teams beforehand. I mean, you beat the Seattle Seahawks, which you don't even know how good they are right now. Right now, they're pretty good, so I guess you could give them a point for that. But you beat Arizona, and who else did they beat? They beat the Seahawks, which, yeah, that's a good team. But then you beat the Saints, and you beat the Cardinals. Saints and Cardinals are not a very good football team right now. Just saying. So that's why they're down there. The Colts I put down there at 20 because this is the game I was waiting for them to get. They were going in there against a really good Rams team. And the Colts, just like the 49ers, have not beaten really good football teams. They beat the Dolphins, which the Dolphins are very much not a good football team. They beat the Tennessee Titans, which were not a very good football team. They beat the Denver Broncos, which, I mean, they're not as Super Bowl caliber as we think they were at the beginning of the season, but they're probably the best team they've beaten this year. I mean, yeah, the Colts had a chance to win against the Rams on Sunday, but the Rams just feel like the much better team, and the Colts just kept making critical mistakes at the worst possible time. So that's why I had them there at 20. Someone said the entire third row has no business being top 15. You know, I had Dallas at 11, Miami at 12, New York at 13, New England at 14, and Houston at 15. I put them there because they won. They weren't the best teams overall this week, but they actually did a lot better than you expected them to, except for the Cowboys, who ended up tying with the number 10 team, the Green Bay Packers. Someone said, why are Jaguars so high up when they're second in their own division, especially the fact the Colts are so much lower? Again, I don't think the Colts are as good as everyone expects them out to be. Everyone's overhyping the Colts as if they're the spectacular football team. They beat 3 lackluster teams, with the best team they beat being the Denver Broncos. And they couldn't even beat the Los Angeles Rams. How are the Finns above the Bucks, 49ers, and Chargers? We get smoked by all of them, and we already lost to the Colts a few weeks ago. Dolphins are up against the Buccaneers because the Buccaneers, in that fourth quarter, Baker Mayfield had some critical mistakes in that fourth quarter against the Philadelphia Eagles. They had a chance to win that game, and they couldn't do it. Dolphins I put high up there because they actually look like a capable team. Granted, it was against the Jets, but at the same time, you know, the big thing is, what do you do now what do you do now without Tyreek Hill? Which we'll touch on that in just a little bit as well. It's a joke having the Chiefs at 2-2 by all bad games for everyone except the first week, then saying their all-star team like y'all hire something. What the fuck is this? I mean, the Chiefs. Yeah, the Chiefs didn't start off strong, but yeah, this was their first real test this week to go against the Ravens, and I thought they succeeded this week. And I'll split more of that in just a little bit. As a Bears fan, I'll take it. Absolutely not arguing, saying we beat Dallas. Why are you okay with them being in front of us, the same as the Dolphins? Oh, wow, didn't even see that. You're right. What the fuck? I mean, let's be honest. The Bears, yeah, they won, but that's a game they could have easily lost. I mean, the Bears did not look like they did the week before when they were just dominating over the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, they struggled to get that win against Las Vegas, and the only reason they won is because they blocked the field goal. That's why I have them there. And so, yeah, I know it's not going to be the answers you want, but like I said at the beginning, this is a different kind of power rankings list than you're used to seeing. If a team plays as badly as they did this past week, I'm going to lower them down. They have a chance to move up, and at the end of the year, I'll put the numbers together and I'll average them out to the final overall total for the year. Who was the best overall? Who was the worst overall? So yeah, that's why I did it. I know, like I said, not going to be a crowd-pleasing answer for everybody here, but that's just how it works on this show. But speaking of the power rankings, let's just talk about my top 5. Number 5, I have the Kansas City Chiefs because this was their best overall game of the season. You got Xavier Worthy back. And the Chiefs, for the first time this season, really did show that magic they had the last couple of years. I mean, the first couple of weeks, they did not look that great overall. They won against the Giants, but anybody could beat the Giants with as bad as that game was last week. But you're going up against the Ravens team that everyone came in with high Super Bowl expectations. But this was the game. This was a good get-back game for the Kansas City Chiefs, and I think they're back in full force this time around. They had their best game. They had their best game of the season. Patrick Mahomes had 4 touchdowns in this game, his best he's had in a long time. He actually got his 250th touchdown in total with this game in general. So yeah, the Chiefs are still really good overall, and that's why I have them just above someone like the Los Angeles Rams and the Seattle Seahawks at number 5. Number 4, I have the Jacksonville Jaguars, because this was the game that everyone thought the 49ers are going to go in there and just trounce this team in general. But the Jaguars proved them wrong. I mean, they got critical turnovers when they needed to. The special teams did a lot of good work on this day. Yeah, the offense is struggling a little bit, but you went all the way to the West Coast to beat a 49ers team that everyone thought was really, really that good. And without Nick Bosa, without a whole lot of critical people on your team, and you have Brock Purdy coming back after this turf toe injury he's had. Yeah, it's gonna. Yeah, and they went in there and won it. Yeah, I'm gonna have the Jaguars up there. I think it was a big win for them and a big vote of confidence for them going into the season. I think they're the best team in the AFC South right now. I don't think the Colts are as good as everyone makes them out to be. Texans, I don't think are as good that good either, and we know how the Titans are, but it really isn't because of the players. It's because of the terrible coach. Number 3, the Detroit Lions. Not really much of a surprise there. I mean, they went into Cleveland. They welcomed in the Browns. Proved to everybody that Monday night game against Baltimore was not a fluke. They are back and for real. And now you get another tough AFC North battle coming up. You get another easy AFC North battle this week with the battered Bengals coming up on Sunday. We'll touch on that in the predictions. Number 2, this one I thought about moving it around because I really had to think about it. The Philadelphia Eagles. And I know the Philadelphia Eagles easily won in that game in general, but at least in the first half. But the second half was a different story altogether. Tampa Bay kind of tried to do as much as they could to come back in that game, but then Baker Mayfield throws that interception, and the Eagles didn't really have to do much at the end. So the first half, they looked really good. Second half, not so much. But I give them points for being creative with some of their decisions, like that tuck rule. Like the tush push thing, where the tush push thing, where everyone thought what they were going to do, and then they completely did a fake tush push that had Saquon Barkley running in so easily for the touchdown. Like creative plays like that are why I keep the Philadelphia Eagles at the number 2 spot. I don't think there is, but if last week is any indication, there's a possibility they won't be undefeated for too much longer. And then the number 1 team this week, not surprisingly, the Buffalo Bills. Although I will give the New Orleans Saints credit. They did go in there to try to put in an effort to take down the Bills in general. But unfortunately, you're going up against a powerhouse in the Buffalo Bills. And the way that the Bills have been able to score points, and they've never felt like that they were down and out. I mean, even in that first game of the season when they were down 40-25, Josh Allen kept that team going, and they ended up winning that game in a comeback fashion that we haven't seen in a long, long time. So, yeah, as much as I want to give the Saints a lot of credit, the Buffalo Bills I still think are the best overall team in the league so far. And yeah, I have them still at the number 1 spot this week. So, who knows? Once again, this can change rather rapidly. If any of these teams falter, they could end up going down depending on how I feel like they perform. So let's go ahead and take a look ahead at my predictions for week number 5. And in terms of my predictions, this was easily my best week of the season. I got 13 of 16. Now, I know what you're probably thinking, for those new people out there, why do you have 13 of 16? We had a game that was in a tie. Well, on my channel, or on the way I do my predictions, I consider a tie to be a win, because neither team lost, neither team won, and basically to kind of help in my standings, I went ahead and gave myself a win. So, yeah. It may seem unfair, but hey, my channel, my rules, and I mean, it's not like I did anything wrong. Like I said, there was no winner, there was no loser. I consider it a free win in my book. So yeah, it's 13 of 16. Even without that, I still did better than I did the last 3 weeks. 12 of 16. It's still not bad, but I give myself a 13 of 16. So let's see how my Week 5 predictions are going to go for this time around. Hopefully this last week was a sign that good things are coming. And we start off with a Thursday Night Football showdown between the San Francisco 49ers and the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams coming off of that big win against the Indianapolis Colts. Puka Nacua really is turning out to be one of the best wide receivers in the league this season. And the Rams, like I said, man, they were definitely the far superior team in that matchup against the Colts, easily. And it was a close matchup overall, but the Rams, I thought, were just better prepared for that game than the Colts were, honestly. And then you got the 49ers, who, as I said before, got a wake-up call from the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I thought the Jacksonville Jaguars were the best team that played in that game in general. San Francisco didn't really look that great. There was not a whole lot there that really got me excited about them. And, they did not play their best football, and they got trounced by a really good Jacksonville team on the rise. So this is a very intriguing matchup overall here. Unlike last week where you had Seattle and Arizona, and Seattle was just easily the far superior team in general, you got two teams here that, they could be really good when they need to be. I mean, the record for the Rams speak for themselves over the 49ers. I mean, the 49ers have usually gotten the best of them over the last couple of years in the regular season. I mean, the only time they really didn't do that for the longest time was that NFC Championship game where the Rams ended up winning that one and would basically gift wrap the Super Bowl, because I'm sorry to keep bringing this up here, but the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Super Bowl and the Los Angeles Rams Super Bowl, I really feel like they were home games for those teams because of COVID. Like, we haven't had teams that have been to the Super Bowl that have hosted the Super Bowl since then. So, I don't know, conspiracy theory on my watch, but San Francisco usually has gotten the best of the Rams over the years, but the last year or so, they've become the far superior team overall. Like, the Rams have been the far superior team the last couple of seasons, and especially these last couple of years. And it's mostly because Sean McVay knows what he's doing, and he's got a red-hot team going ahead. I mean, this was the team that could have been 3-0 had they hold on to that lead against Philadelphia, but they didn't. But they came back to beat the Colts, and I think they have enough there to take on the 49ers and win that game. I really don't think the 49ers are as strong as most people think they are. That's why I'm going with the Rams with this one. I think they have the much better team working for them, both offensively and defensively. Jared Verse is becoming a hot commodity now on the defensive front. I mean, he's really coming into his own. This is a good Rams team that could easily compete with the Philadelphia Eagles. Like that Eagles-Rams game, I don't think it'll be the last time we'll see them competing against each other this season. Just saying. But I'm going to go ahead and take the Rams to win this one, to go in 4-0, and the San Francisco 49ers to drop to 3-2. Next up, we got a bloody morning matchup with the Minnesota Vikings and the Cleveland Browns. And okay, I'm not going to do the voice for that, but it's going to be in London, England. And this is not the first time that Minnesota and Cleveland have traveled overseas to play a football game. In fact, I think they did play a game in London, England about 8 years ago, I think, 2017, the 0-16 season for the Cleveland Browns. The Browns, the Browns are the Browns pretty much. I mean, yeah, the defense looks great, but the offense, not so much. They had an early lead against Detroit, but then they never did anything with it. I mean, they got a 7-0 lead, and then Detroit just ran all over them. And I think Cleveland's starting to realize that, yeah, things have got to change here, because we found out today Dillon Gabriel is going to be starting this week against Minnesota. And, it should be a very interesting scenario with that one in particular. But the Minnesota Vikings are coming off of a game in Dublin, Ireland, where they were playing the Steelers, and the Steelers had the best of them for the most part. But then the Steelers pumped the brakes, and let Minnesota kind of come back in that game, especially in the last couple of minutes of the game, which is still very much questionable of why the Steelers just didn't go ahead and just kick the points and to keep Minnesota from getting any traction, because they almost won that game. Let's be honest, Minnesota could have easily won that game easily, but they did not. And they're going up against the Cleveland Browns team that's going to be putting out a rookie quarterback for the first time. And we all know how the Cleveland Browns do with rookie quarterbacks when they're out there for the first time. I mean, they really have not been able to develop a quarterback all that well, with the exception of Baker Mayfield, which they then let go for Deshaun Watson and let him go off to Carolina, and then the Rams, and then, of course, to Tampa Bay, where he's been thriving there. And by the way, Deshaun Watson is still there. They haven't officially released him, which I don't know why you wouldn't at this point. Like, are you really that worried about taking on that dead cap money that you just can't get rid of the dead weight? Honestly. But yeah, Dillon Gabriel probably will be better, than Joe Flacco was. There's been some promise on the offense. Quinshon Judkins has been a nice addition to them, but yeah, you're going into there to face a Minnesota Vikings team that's still, like I said before, Minnesota is just as dangerous as with a backup quarterback than a starting quarterback. And Carson Wentz has done a very good job the last couple of weeks keeping this team in there. In addition, you got Jordan Addison back in the lineup. I think it's an easy game for Minnesota to win easily, honestly. I think it'll be much closer. I think Dylan Gabriel will give him a chance, but I don't think it'll be enough to win it. So I'm going to go ahead and give Minnesota the win in London on Sunday. Get them back up to 3-2, and Cleveland dropping to 1-4. Next up, the 1 o'clock window, we've got the Las Vegas Raiders versus the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts went out to Los Angeles to take on the Rams, and that magic they had in the first 3 weeks kind of faded away in this one here. I'm not saying that Indianapolis is a bad football team this season. I just don't think they're as great as everyone makes them out to be. Like, I still keep hearing people, they're trying to create new viral phrasing and memes with this, Indianapolis Jones and all that type of stuff. I'm just like, pump the brakes on that, will you? I mean, the Colts are doing good. They're not doing that great. I mean, like I said before, their most impressive win was against the Denver Broncos team that we still don't know if it's as good as we think it is. I mean, yeah, they've been very sloppy the last couple of weeks. The Broncos have. Yeah, I don't think the Colts really are as that great as people make it out to be. And in this matchup here, at least in this matchup, they'll have a much easier fight to face. And I don't think it will really move the needle on anything on how great they really are, because they're facing a Las Vegas Raiders team that really just feels like they're just out of it, man. There's just nothing about this team that makes me believe that... I mean, until they can get a decent quarterback in there, because Geno Smith just isn't working, man. Like, this week against the Bears, you finally got Ashton Jeanty moving, which was great to see. Hopefully that will continue to be a trend going forward. Because I think he really could be the difference maker for this team this season, along with Brock Bowers. I mean, those two are the only reason that the offense for the Raiders is any relevancy to it. Max Crosby's been great for the defense, but Geno Smith's not the answer, man. I wouldn't be shocked at all if somebody like Kenny Pickett comes in there, as sooner rather than later. It might be for this game. Who knows? We don't know for certain just yet, but yeah, if I'm the Las Vegas Raiders, I have to think of something fast here, because yeah, you are really missing. You're closing in on potentially abandoning all hope, ye who enter here, for this season so far. I'm going to give Indianapolis the win. I think this will be a much easier win for them this week than it was last time. I'll give the Colts the 4-1 record, and then the Las Vegas Raiders drop to 1-4. Next up, we've got a matchup between the New York Football Giants and the New Orleans Saints. As I mentioned before, the Saints almost had a chance to beat Buffalo, but in the end, Josh Allen was just too powerful enough to beat them in the end. I mean, Spencer Rattler's getting better overall. I just don't think that this team overall really has I don't think he's the right answer for the quarterback room here in general. And nobody really in the New Orleans Saints room really feels like they're really competing for an actual title here. Like, I feel like the New Orleans Saints are more focusing on the number one pick in the 2026 draft than actually trying to win. I mean, I just don't feel that way. I just don't feel confident with the Saints right now. There's a lot more confidence, though, with the New York Giants, who started Jackson Dart last week, and I made that prediction about the New York Giants being the Chargers before they made that decision. I kind of had a feeling that something was going to happen with how bad that game against the Chiefs last Sunday night went. Brian Daboll had to do something. He put Jackson Dart in against the 3-0 team, and he did pretty well. He actually is the Giants look like a much better football team than they have all season long. Yes, it's going to be tough without Malik Neighbors there with the torn ACL and all, and that sucks and everything. But, I mean, the Giants have been played pretty solidly last week. The defense is getting better. There's a lot of excitement for this football team again. And I think they'll go into this game against the Saints with that same optimism. I think they have a really good chance to go in there and knock down the Saints and keep them winless so far. I'm going to go ahead and give the Giants a 2-3 start and give New Orleans an 0-5 start to the season. Speaking of New York teams, we've got the New York Jets hosting the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys, I'll give it this. Cowboys made it a game on Sunday night. I mean, yeah, it ended up in a tie overall. There was no real winner in the Micah Parsons Bowl. Everyone came out of that game like the end of Lisa on Ice, where everyone was just like, they're both losers. Losers! We pay for blood! Let's tear this place apart! And then everyone starts fighting with each other. That didn't happen, but that's what I thought was going to happen as soon as that game was going to end, because the hype for that game was so high. and for it to end in a 40-40 tie was just kind of. I mean, I was so baffled by how that ended. When I did the Sunday Night NFL rewatch at the end, I didn't even know how to finish it, mostly because A, I was trying to save camera space because I was running out of a camera room, but 2, I really couldn't put my full thoughts together on how this game turned out. In fact, as you saw in the power rankings, I had the Packers at 10 and the Cowboys at 11 because I couldn't decide who should move up, who should move down. I just put them right in the middle because I just couldn't really figure it out. But the Cowboys, I thought, did a whole lot better. Defensively, this was probably one of their stronger games of the season. And even then, it wasn't that great because they let 40 points go up on the board. But they're going to be taking on a New York Jets team who's coming off of a big loss in Miami yesterday. But a loss that actually might be a sign of hope in the future. Because, yeah, the Jets lost that game last night. But if we're looking at which team probably has the weakest future ahead, it's the team that they lost to, that we'll get to in a little bit here. I think the Jets showed enough last night that, there's potential for what they could do here. And keep in mind, when the Cowboys went to MetLife a couple years ago to play the Jets beat them, and pretty convincingly too. I mean, this was not a very good Jets team in 2019, but there's signs of promise with this Jets team in 2025, and I think they can host the Cowboys and pull up maybe the big upset of the weekend here. I'm actually going to go ahead and go with the Jets here to get their first win of the season. I think the Jets can get their first win of the season over the Cowboys. Jets will be 1-4. Dallas will drop to 1-3-1. I just got that feeling that the Jets are going to go into that game primed and ready to go up against the Cowboys team that we really don't know for certain if they're going to be that big playoff contender that everyone thinks they're going to be yet. I mean, yeah, they made it close against Green Bay, but they still didn't win. Still wasn't a loser, but still did win. Next up, a very intriguing showdown, interconference showdown. We've got the Denver Broncos hosting the Philadelphia Eagles. As I mentioned, the Philadelphia Eagles are still undefeated at 4-0, but you could slowly start to see some of the signs of the cracking starting to unravel here because A, they didn't play very well in the second half. B, Saquon Barkley had one of his lesser days overall as a runner. And C, the whole controversy with A.J. Brown, the fact that he basically went online to blast, blast the team in general. I mean, if you didn't see the quote, it literally went like this. If you're not welcomed, not listened to, quietly withdraw. Don't make a scene, shrug your shoulders, and be on your way. I mean, it's cryptic social media tweets and all that, but I mean, when you consider that A.J. Brown has not really been a factor this season for the Philadelphia Eagles, I mean, there is that sign of there should be those signs of concerns. But then again, this is not the first time that Philadelphia's had a wide receiver that has been kind of against the norm here. I mean, everyone remembers what happened with Terrell Owens 20 years ago, and then look what happened to him. But it's not quite to those levels, at least not yet it isn't, but I mean, it's not something where you should start panicking yet, but you might want to keep a close eye on everything that's going on in Philadelphia. They're going to be taking on a Denver Broncos team that finally got it together on Monday night. They blew out the Cincinnati Bengals pretty convincingly, 28-3. I mean, that was their best game of the season overall. And, this is the team that, everyone thought they were going to be Super Bowl contenders early on in the season. Everyone thought they were going to be the team that were going to usurp the Kansas City Chiefs, which I don't think is going to happen just yet. But I think they actually have a chance to go into Philadelphia and pull off an upset with this Philadelphia Eagles overall. Because, like I said, the Eagles did not play very well in the second half of that game in Tampa Bay. Jalen Hurts, if I remember correctly, they did not have as many yards on offense after the second half. I mean, Philadelphia only scored 7 points in the second half alone. I mean, it was enough to beat Tampa Bay, but at the same time, there should be signs of concern about how this team's going to be holding on, how much longer they're going to stay undefeated, because I really don't think it's going to be too much longer. And what better person to do it than Sean Payton and what he's been doing with the Broncos as of late. I think the Broncos are finding their groove here, and I think they go into Philadelphia and actually pull off a big upset here over Philadelphia. This isn't quite as big as the Jets over the Dallas Cowboys, but this is still pretty big if this actually happens. So I'm going to go ahead and give the Denver Broncos the win in this one. I'll say the Broncos go to 3-2, and Philadelphia loses their first game of the season, dropping to 4-1. Next up, we've got the Miami Dolphins and the Carolina Panthers. The Dolphins got their first win of the season last night, and it came with a price. Tyreek Hill is out for the year with a dislocated knee and a torn ACL, and needless to say, for somebody that had this horrible injury, he was smiling way too much coming out of that. Is getting carted off. He just realized, oh my God, the nightmare is over. I'm free. I'm free at last. Not quite to that level, but come on, man. Who smiles when you have a dislocated knee and a torn ACL and your season is over like that? Tyreek Hill, I think, is glad he got out of there. Although I will say to my Steelers fans out there, yeah, sorry that trade, if possible, for Tyreek Hill is not going to happen. Not that it was ever going to happen, but still. But to give Miami credit, they did survive the game against the Jets. Darren Waller proved to be a nice little addition to the team. He got his first 2 touchdowns in over a couple years now, 2 years, I think. But the road for the Miami Dolphins is still very tough ahead. They're going up against the Carolina Panthers team that, remember when last week we were so shocked at how Bryce Young and the Panthers trounced the Atlanta Falcons 30-0, and then the following week they go to New England and then they get trounced by the Patriots. What the hell happened? Was it all just a fluke or what? I don't know how you go from a 30-0 shutout to whatever the hell it was you did against New England, because it really wasn't that much. New England trounced the hell out of you, but I still have hope for Bryce Young. I still have hope for the Carolina Panthers, and they're going up against the Miami Dolphins team on the ropes here. And like I said, they don't have Tyreek Hill. We don't know how good that could actually be for them. But if Monday night's any indication, it could be much more interesting than we think. But I'm actually going to go ahead and give the Carolina Panthers the win in this one. I think Bryce Young and company will make it a close game. I don't think Miami will have enough there to combat with Carolina overall. It might be close overall, but I'm going to go ahead and give Carolina the win in this one to go to 2-3 and Miami to drop to 1-4. Like I said, it could be a very close game, but we'll see what happens on that one. And then next up, you've got a battle between 2 teams that were leading their divisions last year. Not so much this year, at least as far as early on in the season. We've got the Houston Texans at the Baltimore Ravens, and the Ravens, oh my God, that game, if the season couldn't have gotten much worse for you guys, you went into Kansas City and you just got completely destroyed by the Chiefs in general. Not just on the field, but injuries. This team is banged up right now. Their defense was already banged up as it is. In fact, I've got the list right here. Before the game at Kansas City, they were already without Madubuike, who's out for the season, Broderick Washington Jr., who has an ankle injury, Kyle Van Noy is out with a hamstring, Travis Jones is out with a knee injury, and fullback Patrick Ricard was out with a calf injury. And then in the Kansas City game, you lost Nate Wiggins, Marlon Humphrey, Roquan Smith, Ronnie Stanley, and worst of all, Lamar Jackson. Where at first, I really thought to myself, Lamar Jackson's really not injured, because on NFL Red Zone, even Scott Hansen was just like, we have no idea how, what happened to Lamar Jackson and all that. And I thought to myself, okay, he's probably not injured. He's probably just faking the injury, so he doesn't have to go back in and play the Chiefs anymore, because it doesn't really feel like he's there anymore. But no, turns out he actually does have a hamstring injury. At least that's what they're saying, because as we found out today, he'll miss a couple of weeks. He's looking like he's going to miss 2 to 3 weeks. But not only that, the Ravens are going to be without significant players as well, because not only is Lamar Jackson out, but Marlon Humphrey and now Roquan Smith are expected to miss multiple weeks due to injuries suffered in Sunday's loss to the Dolphins. That's according to NFL Network's Ian Rappaport, and there's already still a lot of people missing. Like I said, Ardarius Washington tore his Achilles in the spring. Madubuike had a week 2 neck injury that's knocked him out for the rest of the year. Kyle Van Noy has missed the last 2 games with a hamstring injury. Adisa Isaac is yet to play this year because of a dislocated elbow. Travis Jones and Broderick Washington were both sidelined in week 4. The later led on to IR. Nate Wiggins also left the game in Kansas City due to an elbow injury with an unknown prognosis. Kyle Hamilton and Malachi Starks are the only 2 people in that team that could go in there and try to help the defense overall. But the Ravens defense overall has really been sluggish overall, and they're going into a really tough stretch here where if they can't get any wins here, their season could be over pretty quickly, which is probably good news for the Houston Texans, who finally got their first win of the season last week. Granted, it was against a Tennessee Titans team that is the worst team in football right now, but hey, slow climb back up. Texans got to win. They can use that ahead. And there's a good chance they could go into Baltimore and completely decimate this Ravens team that's completely destroyed. But it's the Ravens. And like I said before, the Ravens are known to start off really slow, and then as the season gets on, they become the Ravens team that's won the division for the last couple of years. Like, I know everyone's saying right now, oh, the Steelers have a cakewalk win to the AFC North. There's no, I mean, the Ravens are hurt. The Bengals are hurt. The Browns are the Browns. There's no way they can lose this. Not so fast there, partner. Yeah, the Steelers are 3-1 right now, but I've watched this long enough to know that don't judge it. It looks can be very deceiving. We still have to see how the rest of the season plays out for this team, because last year, remember, the Steelers were 10-2 going into December, and then they couldn't win a single game for the next 4 weeks into the playoffs. They lost to Baltimore twice. They lost to Philadelphia. They lost to Kansas City. They lost to Cincinnati. I mean, that's 5 straight games they lost in the month of December, which is why I always dread December, because that's when this team collapses big time. So yeah, I'm not going to say the Steelers are going to win the division. I'm not going to say the Steelers are going to have a cakewalk there, because it's still way too early in the year, and you never know you don't know how long the Ravens are going to be banged up for, because like I said before, this is how the Ravens start their season off. I mean, Cincinnati, I think their season's pretty much done with. I'll get to them later on. And the Browns, like I said, the Browns are the Browns, man. No matter what they do, they always end up being the little brother to everybody else in the AFC North. So I'm not going to say the Steelers are going to win the AFC North just yet. I mean, they got to prove to a lot of people that they can get past this whole thing about, winning just 9 games and just having that winning season record. Like, go and try to win a Super Bowl, for God's sakes. That's all I'm asking you, bud. But, despite all of this, I think that, granted, the Texans will probably win this game because the injuries are piling up for Baltimore, but that's why they have Derrick Henry. And even no matter what quarterback you have there, he doesn't even need to throw that much. It's just like, Derrick, you're going to run the football all over this team, no matter how many times we use you. We're going to make sure that you get this football no matter what. Yeah, I think their plan overall is going to have Derrick Henry to have more carries, and hopefully, use him as the piece that you need to get this team going until everybody can get back healthy. So yeah, Houston probably could win this game, but knowing the past, I'm going to go with the Baltimore Ravens to eke out a close win in this one. This could be a very ugly game overall. I'm going to go with Baltimore to go 2-3, Houston to drop to 1-4. Speaking of the Tennessee Titans, they're going to be heading out to Arizona to take on the Cardinals. 2 teams that are very much depleted. They really have nothing left in the tank, especially Arizona, which I think James Conner's injury really sucked a lot of the life out of the room. Marvin Harrison Jr. has not been as good as he was in the first season. And yeah, granted, they did the Cardinals tried to come back in that game against Seattle on Thursday night, but that was already said and done with. Like, as soon as Seattle had control of the game overall, I mean, I turned it off. But then I turned it back on as they got close. But I just knew something was going to happen where Cardinals were probably going to lose that game. And sure enough, of course, the end of the last drive there, Seattle kicked the field goal. I mean, Arizona, I think, really is not going to be as good as we thought they were going to be. At least I thought they were going to be overall. It's again what I said before the beginning of the year. You can't really tell how Arizona is going to be, because they'll start the season really strong and then they'll just kind of go all over the map. Like, what are they trying to be? Like, is this a real contender or not? I just don't feel it with them. They're going to be taking on a Tennessee Titans team who's just begging for a win. They're just trying to get something going here. I mean, you have Cam Ward swearing at the top of his lungs. Not really at the top of his lungs during the post-game conferences. Like, they're talking about, like, how have you guys been playing? And Cam Ward simply just says, ass. Like, this is a guy that's clearly almost out of it. And it's not his fault the team is bad. It's the coach. Brian Callahan is a terrible head coach, and it's amazing that he was not fired yet. I mean, I thought that after the Texans game, he'd be out, but maybe, I don't know, if they find a way to win this game, maybe he sticks around, which probably could happen, because I have no real trust in Arizona right now. I don't think Arizona is that good of a football team as they were a couple of weeks ago. Like, I don't think they're that great overall. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and give Tennessee the win in this one here. I think it'll be an ugly game overall, but I think this will be the game that Tennessee takes itself seriously, goes into a matchup in Arizona and beats a team that's not very good overall, and gets their season back on track here. I'm going to give Tennessee an opportunity to get their first win here. I'm going with Tennessee 1-4, Arizona dropping 2-3. This could easily be a trap game for Arizona, really, when you look at it. So following that, we've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going to Seattle to take on the Seahawks. We talked about how they went into Arizona last week on Thursday and beat the Cardinals pretty good for the most part. I mean, Seattle has been looking much better as the season has gone on. I mean, that first loss seemed like it was a fluke overall. Seemed like it was a sign that they weren't that great, but then mopping Pittsburgh, mopping New Orleans, which really is that shocking, in Arizona. I mean, they've looked pretty good. We still don't have a conclusive idea on how good this team could really be right now. I mean, they're a team that really is waiting for that opportunity to really show what they can do here. And here's their first real test. They're going up against the Tampa Bay team, who has been playing lights out football. I mean, they really came close to knocking down the world champs, but of course, that interception in the fourth quarter kind of ruined that hope. And this is still a really good Tampa Bay Buccaneer team, no matter what you think about them. I mean, Baker Mayfield keeps balling out. Chris Godwin has been great to see him back in there with Mike Evans out for a couple more weeks. Emeka Buka's been very good. Bucky Irving had a banner day last week against the Eagles. This is a team that can go into Seattle and wake up and get their season back on track here. I think they're the better team in this matchup here. I think they are a team that can go into Seattle, knock down the Seahawks, and get their season back on track here. I think they still are the best team in that lackluster division that is the NFC South, and there's nobody even close except for Atlanta maybe. I'm going to go ahead and give Tampa the win here. I'm going to go with Tampa Bay to go in there and beat Seattle. Tampa Bay goes to 4-1. Seattle drops to 3-2. And following that, we've got the aforementioned matchup between the Detroit Lions and the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals, man, you are missing Joe Burrow badly. I mean, this team, when Joe Burrow went down, their season pretty much went out the door. Jake Browning has not been the same Jake Browning that was the savior in 2023. He really has not. And last night was a true indication of that. I mean, this Bengals offense looks terrible. Terrible. Like, it's getting bad to the point where you have star players yelling at the coaches. I mean, when it gets to that point, like, you know your season is pretty much in trouble here. And, yeah, this is going to be a really tough matchup for them because they're going up against the Detroit Lions team, who has been unstoppable since that Week 1 loss to Green Bay. I mean, they have proven that, Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn may be gone, but this Lions team is still as good as it can be, honestly. And I really do think they can go into Seattle and continue this trend that they've been going on. I mean, they've already beaten Baltimore and Cleveland. I mean, they've already beaten them pretty convincingly. So I wouldn't expect a different outcome with this one here. I think Detroit goes into Cincinnati and beats the Bengals. Detroit goes to 4-1. Bengals drop to 2-3, and that means that they won't have to play another AFC North team until December, when they have to face the Pittsburgh Steelers. Oh boy! Well, better pray that the Steelers actually are in the playoffs by the time the Steelers kick off against the Lions on the week before Christmas. I hope. With that said, that brings us to the last game in the afternoon window for Sunday. We've got the Los Angeles Chargers and the Washington Commanders. I think that's what it is. I beg your pardon. It's the Los Angeles Chargers hosting the Washington Commanders. I had the other way around. The Washington Commanders, they got walloped by the Atlanta Falcons in a matchup that wasn't even close. Michael Penix Jr. really came in there and just mopped the floor with the Commanders and got a huge boost of confidence after that Carolina shutout the week before. This team hasn't been the same since Jaden Daniels took over. But the big news this week is that he is set to play this week against the Los Angeles Chargers team, coming off of its first loss of the season last week against the Giants. And, the Chargers, as good as they have been, you could see what those critical injuries to Najee Harris, and especially now Joe Alt, are really hurting this team overall. I mean, they've already lost Rasheed Slater for the year, but yeah, that loss, losing another one of your top offensive linemen, I mean, that's really hurting the team overall, and it showed in that loss against the Giants. I don't think it gets better when Washington comes back into play here. I mean, with Jaden Daniels back in the lineup, all bets are off, man, and that team and the Washington Commanders can be as good at going as far as they can with him involved in there. So yeah, I think Washington goes in there and beats them pretty convincingly. I'm going to have the Washington Commanders going 3-2, Chargers dropping to 3-2. And then Sunday Night Football, we've got a matchup that hasn't been in primetime for a while now, and probably for a good reason. An AFC East showdown between the New England Patriots and the Buffalo Bills. I don't think there's much to be said about the Buffalo Bills. They are still 4-0. They are still the dominant team in the AFC, in my personal opinion. I mean, they have played really good. They have played some of their best football this season, no question about it. And they're going up against their old foe, the old big brother that they used to be. Well, now big brother is Buffalo and little brother is New England. Although New England has definitely improved this season compared to last season. I mean, they had that really big win against Carolina last week. The team, New England, has definitely looked a lot better under Mike Vrabel than it did under Gerard Mayo. I mean, this team definitely looks a lot better in general, but now they got to go into Buffalo and reassert their dominance in the AFC East, because they are probably the biggest contender the Buffalo Bills will have to take on that team this year. And honestly, as great as New England has been this season, I just don't think they have enough there to take on Buffalo. I mean, Buffalo is playing lights-out football. Just when you think you've had them down, they get back up again and they beat you down convincingly. And yeah, this is going to be a very tough game for New England overall. It's going to be very tough for Drake May to go in there and have the type of game where he could overpower Josh Allen in general. I just don't see it happening with this one, honestly. So in this matchup in particular, unless I see signs of some possible red flags with the Buffalo Bills, which technically them almost losing the New Orleans Saints could be one, but they eventually got back in the end. So Buffalo, I think, is just too good of a football team to beat right now. I mean, it's just that simple right now. And as much as New England has gotten better, I don't think it's going to be enough to beat Buffalo in Buffalo. They might do it at the end of the year in New England, or whenever they meet again in the regular season. I think it is. No, because last year they met at the end of the regular season, if I'm not mistaken. It's close to the end of the regular season. December 14th is when they meet again at Gillette Stadium, so take that for what you will. But in this case, I'm going with the Buffalo Bills to win this one, to go to 5-0, and New England to drop to 2-3. And then you've got your Monday Night Football showdown for the weekend, which, thank God, is actually a very intriguing football game. You've got the Kansas City Chiefs going out to Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars. Two teams coming off of big wins in the late window last Sunday. Kansas City knocking the crap out of Baltimore, and Jacksonville pulling off an upset win over the San Francisco 49ers. Jaguars have gotten a whole lot better defensively on special teams. It's the offense, though, that could be the real key factor in this one, because like I said before, the offense has been pretty, not the worst, but certainly not as good as it could be, especially considering that you have Travis Hunter Jr. both offensively and defensively, and he had his biggest offensive play so far in this young season with a 28-yard catch from Trevor Lawrence from the back of the 49ers end zone. But then you have the Kansas City Chiefs. Are they back for real? I would like to think they are. I mean, yeah, you got to win over a New York Giants team led by Russell Wilson, but you beat a Baltimore Ravens team that I don't want to say that they're as good as they've been the last couple of seasons, but they have definitely shown much more signs of weakness this season, especially their defense overall, which has been terrible. So I don't know. I don't think Kansas City is back as much as we think they are. I just think they're getting lucky with these wins here. And because of that, this is a tough game for me to call out here. I mean, I would love to see Jacksonville pull off an upset win and get Kansas City another loss, get them back below 500, but I think Kansas City's getting back into that groove again. I think this is the start of when they get back to their normal form here, and they probably will not lose another game until they rest their starters, and is when they've already had the AFC West locked up. I mean, that's probably what's going to happen with this one here. But just in case, I mean, yeah, this could be a very good matchup overall. Two very good teams on the is one on the rise, one that's been a defending AFC champion for the last couple seasons. But I am going to go with the Chiefs to win this one. I think it'll be a closer matchup than most people expect. Give me the Chiefs to go to 3-2 and the Jaguars to drop to 3-2. So there you go. Those are my Week 5 picks. Once again, the Rams over the San Francisco 49ers, the Minnesota Vikings over the Browns, the Colts over the Raiders, the Giants over the Saints, the Jets over the Cowboys, the Broncos over the Eagles, the Panthers over the Dolphins, the Ravens over the Texans, the Titans over the Cardinals, the Buccaneers over the Seahawks, the Lions over the Bengals, the Commanders over the Chargers, the Buffalo Bills over the New England Patriots, and the Chiefs over the Jaguars. Hopefully this will turn out to be as good as it was last weekend. Probably not, but we'll see. But with all that said, thank you so much for joining me on this episode of the NFL Network. And of course, we'll be back next week, of course, with another episode, and we'll check my power rankings and my predictions and my overall results from those predictions. So thank you for joining me, and with all that said, if you enjoyed this and want to see more videos like this, check out the last episode we did, check out our playlist, and also check out the Sunday Night NFL rewatch from this past week. It was a really good one between the Cowboys and the Packers. That was a really good game to watch overall, and I hope you enjoyed that one. And with that said, again, hit the like button, subscribe button, notification button, and I will see you guys next week. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next week. Take care.
following has been a presentation of the Reviewing Network Sports.